What's going on, Soul Tribe? And welcome to my channel, Alchemist 8. Justin here, and bringing another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Sun in Gemini in the 12th house. And this is a tricky place for the Sun. I have the Sun in the 12th house. But this would be someone who would be a Cancer rising one. But with the sun is our life breath. This is the light of the mind, the soul energy. This is the most important part of one of the most important components of your chart. But the nature of the sun is to build. It's to grow. It's this your think of it as just like your gift from God, your light that you're here to grow into and to show everyone else. It's interesting where people say, well, my son is in Gemini in this example. And this is like I'm learning to understand what the Gemini energy is. And when we're talking about Gemini is that duality. They're represented by the twins. This is mutable earth energy. So you could think very quick, very fast. They are ruled by Mercury. That's one of the signs that Mercury rules over. And so there is this, when you think about the air in Mercury, is this gift with speech with Gemini. Geminis are really quick with the mind. They can take in a lot of information very fast. And I feel Gemini is able to see both sides of a situation, see it very clear, kind of like, this is kind of what it is. I enjoy Gemini energy. And then you have the 12th house. Now, what I like to preface with especially the 12th house and the 8th house, just because you have planets there, that does not mean you're doomed or you're going to, this, but these are going to be lessons that you're here to learn through. Now, with the 12th house, again, I have the sun in 12th house, so I'm still here. But the 12th house is a tough one. This is considered the worst house. It's the most unfavorable house, let's put it that way. It's considered the house where you feel sorrows, where it could be hidden enemies. That could be where we're talking maybe gossip going on, or maybe this is like that voice, that inner critic that goes down, that gets the depression. This could be, oh goodness, the 12th house can be or isolation. It could be sufferings. It's where Saturn rejoices. But this is what I like about this thing with this placement here. Again, that duality of Gemini. You could see, just focus on the 12th house as, oh no, this person's doomed. This is it. Just kind of settle in. Or we could look at it on the duality of it. And that's what I feel happens with 12th house, especially if you don't really kind of learn how to deal with that area of life early on. It gets a little harder in life, but it's not impossible. But I find with this, especially if I were to, if I'm talking with like a parent, let's say, for example, I would say affirmations, having a regular thing, just so that they can learn to have a way to move through these emotions, to process them in a healthy way, as opposed to letting the 12th house just kind of bring you down. The 12th, and this may not even be with the sun in the 12th house. This may not be things that you're personally dealing with. With Gemini is a chatty one, maybe, or at least can be. And I'm talking in general. Gemini, you may be talking with other people. Maybe you're dealing with other people's sorrows, sufferings. Maybe you work as a therapist, possibly. Maybe you're working with people in a prison, in isolation. Maybe you're working in some sort of like ward, or maybe you're working wherever this is working. You could be dealing with it in that way. And so it's like, how do you bring that life? How do you bring your light to this area of this misfortune, to this thing? And that's actually very interesting. When I would think about that, I would say too, learning how much, I don't want to put this, as like investing in your value, like knowing how much you are worth it, like knowing that you have this. And I can even see where you can make, you can make a profession out of this. Maybe you are, or you can earn some sort of livelihood with this, where again, maybe you're working as your own, open up your own clinic, or maybe you create some sort of like podcast for sort of like some talk therapy, and you're working through other people, helping other people work through their things while you're also getting new insight on things that maybe you're actually working through as well. That's sometimes we find the wisdom when we're helping other people as well. It helps us step outside of ourselves. And I would say that with the Sun and Gemini too in the 12th house, making sure that there is that space to be able to talk about these things, to process this stuff in a healthy way, to get to understand the tougher aspects of life, because it's important in the grand scheme of things. You're not going to be in sorrow forever, but it can be longer. It'll be as long as it needs to be. But I find when we have these tools to move through these emotions, then we get to that from the 12th house to the first house. We can have this like, okay, this new understanding. Okay, this is what I need to do. I see things from a new light and I'm ready to go in a new way. I can change up how I'm approaching my speech to this. And that's, with Gemini too, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So I would just be very mindful about that. Things that your Gemini energy can be a little glib sometimes. So that's one thing that I would talk about, especially putting a lot of misfortune on themselves, I don't want to not make it humorous or anything, but just be mindful of downing yourself too often or making it too much of a habit, and even downing others too, because what goes out comes back. And I feel that that's very important for everybody, but I feel Gemini is one, the air signs are one that really particularly pay attention to that. So, but those are some things that I would say to this. This is, again, we need the chart to this. You want to look to see where Mercury's at, again, to get an idea of how this, because maybe Mercury's in a stronger house that can maybe help kind of combat this. Maybe you can turn this misfortune into a blessing in a sense, or it's just like, okay, maybe not, and maybe we need to find a different way to some different tools, some extra tools to work with this thing. Maybe we need a support system, possibly, however that might be looking. But I would love to hear how this may be coming up, or if you feel comfortable enough to share this stuff. I know when we get around to the Sun in Cancer, the 12th house, I'll be able to go in on that one, because again, 12th house can be. I don't think it can just be. I think it can be very empowering. I think it can be very eye-opening and really flip the script on life and make life just way more approachable, and make those harder times way more approachable and more accepting of that. So, yeah, I would love to hear from you how you been experiencing this energy, and until the next one, stay mindful out there. Keep raising the vibration through the roof, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.